This is the story of something really strange. Something that still makes my skin crawl when I think about it. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, and I want you to listen carefully, because once you hear it, you might not look at your local Starbucks the same way again. So, this all started about a year ago. It was a rainy Thursday evening. I was walking home from work, tired, soaked from the drizzle, and all I wanted was something warm to drink. I passed by the usual Starbucks near my street. It was open late, always cozy, and kind of quiet after 8 p.m. That night, the lights inside looked a little dimmer than usual, but I thought maybe it was just the rain messing with my eyes. I stepped in. The bell above the door gave its usual soft chime. Only one barista was behind the counter. She looked up and gave me a stiff smile, not the usual warm kind. She looked pale, like she hadn't slept in days. Her name tag said, Emily. There were no other customers. Now, this place was usually busy, even during bad weather. But that night, every table was empty. No music, just the faint hum of the coffee machines. I walked to the counter and ordered a tall latte. Emily nodded but didn't say anything. She just turned around and started making it. I looked around. The chairs were all tucked in neatly. The lights flickered every few seconds, and I noticed something else. The walls had these weird marks, like scratches, deep ones, near the far end by the restroom door. When she handed me the cup, I said, "Rough night?" She looked at me with this blank expression and whispered, "Don't stay too long." Then she turned and walked into the back room. I didn't know if I should laugh or feel creeped out. Maybe she was just having a bad day. I sat at the table, near the window, sipping my drink and scrolling through my phone. The rain was hitting the glass softly. But then I heard something. A knock. Not on the door. On the inside of the restroom. You know that soft, slow knock, knock, knock that feels like it's done on purpose? Like someone wants your attention but doesn't want anyone else to hear? I looked up. The restroom door was closed. The lights above it were flickering faster now. I waited a moment, then brushed it off. Maybe someone was inside. But then it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. Slow and steady. I got up. I don't know why. I guess curiosity is a curse. I walked over, stood in front of the restroom door, and listened. No sound. I lightly knocked back. Nothing. Then, without warning, I heard someone whisper from inside, "Please don't let her see me." I froze. I backed away slowly. What the hell? I looked around. Still no other customers. No Emily. I turned and walked to the counter. I called out, "Hey, is someone in the restroom?" No answer. I pushed the swinging door behind the counter just slightly and looked in the back. The room was dark. I didn't see Emily. In fact, I didn't hear anything at all back there. Now I was officially creeped out. I grabbed my jacket and headed toward the door. But just as I reached for the handle, the lights shut off. All of them. The whole place went pitch black. I froze. Then the emergency lights came on. Just two small red ones above the exits. The whole Starbucks was soaked in this eerie red glow. Then I heard it again. Knock, knock, knock. But this time, it wasn't from the restroom. It was from right behind me. I turned slowly. Emily was standing in the middle of the shop. But her face looked different. Her eyes were completely black. No whites. just two dark holes. And she was smiling now, wide, unnatural, like her mouth had been stretched too far. She said, "You should have left." I didn't think. I just ran. I yanked open the door and bolted out into the rain. I didn't stop until I was at the end of the block. I turned around. The Starbucks lights were normal again. The windows looked bright. I could see Emily behind the counter, looking like her normal self. It didn't make sense. I went home, locked every door, and didn't sleep that night. The next day I went back, not because I wanted to, but because I had to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. The place looked normal, busy, full of customers, music playing. And behind the counter, a cheerful barista I'd never seen before. I asked, "Is Emily working today?" She paused, then said, "Emily?" I nodded. She looked confused and said, "There's no one by that name here." I told her I came in last night and spoke to Emily, even described her. Then the manager came over. He listened quietly and finally said, "Sir, this Starbucks closes at 7 p.m. We haven't done night shifts in over a year, and we've never had an employee named Emily." I was stunned. I checked my phone. The receipt from last night was gone. The Starbucks app didn't show any recent orders, but here's the part that chilled me the most. As I walked out, I passed the restroom door, and there, near the floor, I saw faint scratch marks, like fingernails trying to claw their way out. Swear to you, I never went back. I searched online, tried to find stories, rumors, anything about that Starbucks. I found a post, old from about 5 years ago. It talked about a girl named Emily who used to work the late shift. She went missing one night. The camera footage from the store glitched out during her last shift. All they found were deep scratches inside the restroom, and one final note scrawled behind the mirror. It said, "She's still here." And ever since then, people who stay too long during storms report seeing her. Black eyes, wide grin, and a warning. Now maybe you think this is just a ghost story, but I was there. I saw her. I heard the knock, and I still wonder what would have happened if I had stayed a little longer. So next time you're at a quiet Starbucks late at night, and you hear a knock from the restroom, don't answer it. Just leave. This is the story of something strange that happened to me last summer. I still think about it sometimes, especially when I pass by a Starbucks. It was one of those things you don't forget, no matter how hard you try. It was July, and it was hot. I had been walking around all day, running errands and meeting a friend. Around 8 p.m. I got tired and decided to stop at the Starbucks near my apartment. I had been there many times before. It was clean, quiet, and always smelled like coffee and warm pastries. Nothing ever felt wrong about it. Until that night. I walked in, and the first thing I noticed was that it was emptier than usual. Normally, even at night, there were students with laptops, people chatting, or couples enjoying a drink. But that night, there was only one man sitting at the back. He wore a hoodie and kept his head down. I couldn't see his face. There was a new barista at the counter. I hadn't seen her before. She looked young, maybe early 20s, with dark hair tied in a ponytail. Her name tag said Lena. She gave me a quiet smile and asked for my order. I got my usual, a caramel frappuccino. While she made it, I looked around. Something felt a little off. The lights weren't very bright and the air felt heavy, like the AC wasn't working right. But I didn't think much of it. I just figured it was a slow night. I sat down at a table near the window. As I took a sip, I noticed something strange. The man in the hoodie hadn't moved once. not even to take a drink or look at his phone. He just sat there, staring at the wall. Then I heard something. It was soft, like whispering. At first I thought it was coming from outside. I looked through the window, but the street was empty. I listened again. The whispering was coming from inside. I looked around, trying to find where it was coming from. That's when I saw Lena behind the counter. She was just standing there, staring at the man in the hoodie, not blinking, not moving. I felt a chill. I stood up slowly, thinking maybe I should just leave. But then the lights flickered. Once, twice. Then they stayed off for a full 3 seconds before turning back on. When the lights came back, Lena was gone. She had vanished, just like that. I looked toward the back room door, thinking maybe she went inside, but it was closed. Then I looked at the man in the hoodie. He was looking right at me. His face was pale, like it hadn't seen the sun in years. His eyes were wide, almost too wide, and he had the biggest grin I had ever seen. Not happy, not kind, just wrong. I grabbed my bag and turned toward the door, but it wouldn't open. I pulled harder. Nothing. Then I heard the whispering again. It was all around me now. I turned and saw the man slowly standing up. I backed away toward the restroom area. I knew there was an emergency exit near there. I ran. But as I passed the counter, I saw something behind it. Lena was there, lying on the floor. Her eyes were open, and her mouth was stuck in a silent scream. I froze for a second, my heart racing. I couldn't move. The man was walking slowly behind me, calm, like he had all the time in the world. I ran to the back door, grabbed the handle, and shoved it open. It actually worked. I ran out into the alley behind the store and didn't stop until I reached the gas station a few blocks away. I called the police. When they got there, I was shaking, trying to explain what happened. But here's the weird part. When they checked the Starbucks, it was normal. No sign of the man, no sign of Lena, nothing. They even showed me the camera footage from that night. In the video, I was the only one in the store. No man in a hoodie, no Lena, no one, and that's not all. The Starbucks manager told the police something that made my stomach twist, that Starbucks had been closed since 6 p.m. that day. They had shut it down early for cleaning, and no staff was supposed to be inside. But I was there. I sat at a table. I ordered a drink. I saw Lena. I saw that man. The police didn't know what to say. They thought maybe I had gone to another location and got confused. But I know what I saw. I still had the cup, the one Lena gave me. But when I looked at it, the next day it was blank, no logo, just a plain white cup. I didn't drink Starbucks for a long time after that, and I definitely never went back to that location. But sometimes late at night I walk by it, and I swear I see someone standing inside by the window, a man in a hoodie, staring out. And sometimes I think I hear whispering again. If you ever stop at a Starbucks late at night and there's almost no one inside, if the air feels heavy, if the lights flicker, and the barista doesn't blink, don't stay, just leave, because not every Starbucks is what it seems. This is the story of a strange and terrifying thing that happened to my cousin Sam. He told me this one night when we were sitting in his room, and I could tell from his face that he wasn't joking. He said he hadn't told anyone else, but he needed to tell someone or he'd go crazy. So now I'm telling you. It happened last year, when Sam had just started his night shift at a 24-hour Starbucks. Yeah, not many people know this, but some Starbucks are open all night, especially in big cities. This one was in a quiet part of town, right near an old hospital that had shut down years ago. Sam was the newest worker there. His job was simple: clean up, make drinks if anyone came in, and lock up at 5 a.m. He liked it. The place was usually empty after midnight, and he could listen to music or read a book. But everything changed one night. It was a Thursday. Rainy, windy, the kind of night where most people stay home. Sam came in at 11 p.m., said hi to the day staff as they left, and began his usual routine. He wiped down the counters, restocked the napkins, and brewed a fresh pot of coffee. Around midnight, a woman walked in. She was tall, with long black hair, wearing a white coat that looked soaked from the rain. Sam thought it was odd. She didn't carry an umbrella. She didn't say anything when she came in. She just walked straight to the corner table and sat down. Sam waited for her to come order something, but she didn't. She just sat there, staring out the window. He finally walked over and asked, "Hi there, would you like something to drink?" The woman didn't move. She didn't even blink. Sam said her eyes were glassy, like she was looking at something that wasn't there. Just as he was about to ask again, she slowly turned her head and said, "He's almost here." That was it. Sam stepped back, confused. "Who's almost here?" he asked, but she didn't reply. She just stared out the window again. A minute later, the door opened, even though Sam was sure he hadn't heard it. A tall man came in. His clothes were dark and he had no face. I know it sounds crazy, but Sam swore to me that this man had no face, no eyes, no mouth, no nose, just smooth, pale skin where everything should have been. He walked right past Sam and sat down across from the woman. They didn't talk. They just sat there. Sam stood frozen behind the counter. He said the air in the store suddenly felt wrong. Too heavy. Too still. Like everything was holding its breath. Then the lights flickered. He thought maybe the storm was messing with the power. But when the lights came back on, the store looked different. It was still the same Starbucks, but it was dirty. The walls were cracked. The posters were torn. The chairs looked old, like they'd been there for years. And the two people were gone. Sam rubbed his eyes, thinking he was imagining things. But no, the place had changed. He ran to the door and tried to open it, but it was locked. He hadn't locked it. It locked on its own. Then behind him he heard footsteps. Slow, wet, like someone walking in puddles. He turned around and saw the woman again, but she looked different. Her hair was hanging in her face, dripping with water, and her eyes were wide, like she was terrified. She pointed at something behind him and whispered, "Don't let him in." Sam turned again, and the man without a face was at the door, but the door was locked. He stood there, just waiting. The woman walked closer and whispered again, "He comes when they forget." Sam asked, "Forget what?" But she didn't answer. She just kept repeating, "Don't forget, don't forget, don't forget." Then, the lights went out completely. Sam grabbed his phone and turned on the flashlight. He was breathing hard now, panicking. He pointed the light around the store, but the woman was gone. The man was gone, and the store looked normal again. The posters were clean. The chairs were new. Everything was as it should be. But the clock on the wall now said 4:57 a.m. He had lost 5 hours. He never remembered falling asleep. He never remembered time passing. One moment he was staring into the dark, and the next it was almost time to leave. The front door suddenly unlocked by itself. Just like that. Click. Wide open. He walked out without looking back. The next day, Sam told the manager he couldn't work nights anymore. He made up a story about needing more sleep, but the truth was, he was scared. Really scared. The manager agreed and moved him to a day shift. But the strange part. A few weeks later, Sam was cleaning behind the counter during his day shift. He found an old receipt jammed behind one of the machines. It was faded, almost like it had been there for years. But the date on it? It was the same night he lost 5 hours. Only, this receipt was from a drink order. A drink Sam never made. The name on it? It just said, he. No other info, just that single word. Sam said he kept that receipt for a few days before burning it. After that night, he never stayed at work past sunset. Not even once. I believed Sam. I really did. He's not the kind of guy to make things up. He was pale. The whole time he told me like the memory itself made him feel sick. Now I don't go into Starbucks late at night anymore. I don't care how bad I want a coffee. Because sometimes I think about that woman's words. He comes when they forget. And I don't want to know what I might forget if I stay too long. This is the story of something really strange that happened to me. I haven't told many people because it sounds too crazy, but I swear every word I'm about to tell you is true. This happened last winter, and to this day, I still get chills when I think about it. So listen carefully. I was working part-time at a Starbucks near my college. It wasn't a fancy one, just a small place near a quiet street. Most of our customers were students or people heading home from work. I usually worked evening shifts, but one day my manager asked if I could cover a night shift, midnight to 6 a.m. Apparently, someone had called in sick. At first, I didn't mind. I thought it would be easy. Few customers, maybe I could read a book or watch something on my phone. I said yes. Big mistake. That night I arrived at 11:45 p.m. It was cold and foggy outside, the kind of fog that makes everything look ghostly. The store was quiet. The day staff finished cleaning and left right after I came in. I was alone. The first hour was fine. I played soft music on the store speakers, cleaned a bit, and made myself a hot chocolate. No customers, just peace. But around 1:30 a.m. the door opened. I looked up and saw a man walk in. He wore a long black coat and a hat that shadowed most of his face. He moved slowly, dragging his feet a little like he was tired. I greeted him with a smile and asked what he'd like. He didn't speak. He stood there for a moment, then pointed to the menu. His hand was shaking. I asked again, "Would you like coffee, tea, something warm?" Still no answer, just silence. Finally, he said in a very low voice, "Just, something hot." So I made him a black coffee. No sugar, no cream. When I handed it to him, he looked up for a moment, and I saw his face, or at least I thought I did. His skin looked pale, almost gray. His eyes were strange, no color in them, just white. And his mouth, it didn't look right. Like it had been stitched at the corners and then opened again. I froze. Something about him didn't feel human. He took the cup, nodded once, and went to sit at the far corner table. That table was in a shadowy spot near the window, and I couldn't see him clearly after he sat down. I told myself maybe I was imagining things, maybe I was tired, but then he just sat there for an hour, didn't drink, didn't move, just sat there, staring outside. I tried not to look at him. I focused on wiping down the counter and restocking cups. But every few minutes I felt like he was staring at me, even though I never saw him move. Then, at exactly 2:47 a.m., the lights flickered. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And when they came back on, something was different. There were more people in the store. I swear to you, I didn't hear the door open. But suddenly there were 3 other people. 2 sitting near the front, 1 standing by the wall. They weren't talking. They weren't ordering anything. Just standing or sitting, watching. Their faces were pale too. Eyes wide open, but no expression. Just blank stares. I felt like I was dreaming or trapped in some nightmare. I grabbed my phone and checked the cameras through the Starbucks app. But on the screen, the store was empty. What I was seeing in front of me, those people, they weren't showing up on the cameras. I looked up again, and one of them, the woman near the front, was now standing closer to the counter. Her clothes looked old, dirty, like she had been walking for days. She opened her mouth and whispered, "He remembers now." I said, "What?" But she didn't answer. She turned and walked backward. Yes, backward to her seat. Then slowly, the man in the black coat stood up. He walked toward the counter, holding the cup of coffee that he never drank. He placed it down and said, "You see us now. That means it's time." I shook my head and said, "Time for what?" He didn't reply. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out something strange. It looked like a watch, but with no numbers, just symbols. He held it in front of my face, and suddenly everything went black. When I woke up, it was morning. Bright sunlight filled the store. I was lying on the floor behind the counter. No customers, no man, no strangers. The only sign that something had happened was the cup of coffee still sitting on the counter, cold, untouched. I checked the time. It was 7:06 a.m. I had missed the entire last hour of my shift. I checked the cameras again. Nothing. It showed me cleaning, then lying down on the floor. No man in black, no other people, nothing. I tried to tell my manager, but how could I explain it? I just said I fainted. He made me take a week off. But that's not the worst part. A few days later, I was walking home from class when I saw a missing person poster taped to a pole. The face on the poster, it was the man from the Starbucks. The name on the poster was Elliot Moore. It said he went missing in 1976, almost 50 years ago. I went home, locked my door, and cried. I didn't know what I had seen. Ghosts? Something else? But the story doesn't end there. Last week I walked past that Starbucks. Again. I hadn't been back since that night, but when I looked through the window I saw someone sitting at that same corner table. He was wearing a black coat, just sitting there staring out the window. I kept walking. I didn't go in. I never will again. So now, whenever someone says Starbucks is a nice place to chill at night, I smile, but I don't say anything, because I know what's waiting in the dark. And maybe, if you're not careful, he'll remember you too.